So now we will reopen citizens' input for anyone who wishes to speak on the alcohol question, and so that everyone's clear on what this question is. State law prohibits.
We have about 20 people outside who can come and go behind you.
Okay.
Another seat over here.
So here's what the question is. State law prohibits the sale of alcohol or beer and wine within 300 feet of any school structure or school property. It prohibits the sale of distilled spirits, which is liquor, within 600 feet of a church, correct? And 600 feet.
Just looking at yards, I'm gonna go with one out here without my calculator, I can't do that. I think it's,
100 and 200.
it's 100 yards for church with, with distilled spirits.
So 300
200, yeah, 200 for schools and colleges, and
Okay.
then 100 for schools and colleges with wine and malt beverages.
Okay.
Right.
So OCGA 3321B3 gives local governing authorities the ability to reduce that distance. And that's what has been asked of the city council. So the question that has been placed on the agenda is, shall an ordinance be prepared for the purpose of expanding the area within central business district exempted from distance requirements from church structures, and school grounds for on-premise consumption licenses for beer, wine, and distilled spirits? That's the question that's on the agenda tonight. It's not a question of whether anything would actually take place tonight. It would allow for the preparation of an ordinance if the council voted positively for that. We will receive, at this time, it's the same rules, I'll read them again, public input for anyone who wishes to speak on this. If you will, please stand and state your name. And we wish that you follow the rules. Members of the public shall not make inappropriate, or offensive comments at a council meeting and are expected to comply with the rules of decorum that are established for council members. And the rules that are established for council members is basically the same. No offensive or personal comments. When you speak to the city council. You're allowed to speak one time. You're not speaking to the audience or other members. If you disagree with what someone says, you're still speaking to us, not to individual members in attendance. Any questions? So I will open the floor. Please raise your hand, state your name.
Mr. Mayor and Council, thank you for letting us speak tonight. I'm the pastor at First Baptist Church downtown, so we're greatly affected by the ordinances that we have. And we would encourage you to keep the ordinance that we have in place. We have morning and evening activities at our church. We have a full children's daycare program that runs year-round. And we just feel like there needs to be a buffer with our church and with the sale of alcohol. There are plenty of commercial properties in our city where business people can sell alcohol. And we feel like if they choose to do that, they need to find a location that is out of that buffer zone that the state law permits. So we appreciate your consideration. In lieu of 500 people being here tonight, I mentioned it very briefly yesterday. I have about 300 signatures that I could share with you. I could come up with probably 800 with the people that have shared with me if you all need to know our feeling about that issue. So thank you so much for letting us share with you.
Thank you. Joanne?
Good evening. So thank you for clarifying that it is up to you guys to make that change, and certainly appreciate the church's opinion on the matter. I actually got out with a bit of a walking stick yesterday so I could get my head around the current law. 28 Main, which is where it goes to, their door to their door is 31 yards, just so you know. So this buffer, or whatever we talk about, I think the distance is arbitrary. Where our town is 4 blocks. We have 2 on River Street, we have a square, and we have 2 moving our way. We happen to be on the other side of the church. So, of course, when I was here 5 years ago, 3 months, we played with this, maybe even 4 months. And then you all said it just needed to be tabled, and it just wasn't a good time. 5 years, you've given a lot of licenses out. We can only conclude on our end that it feels a bit discriminatory to us. I feel that it's a bit capricious of the council to just be, I'm not even sure what's going on. I don't even know why we can't get one when everyone else seems to be able to get one. I don't think there's a sound basis for it. I think it feels very prejudicial to us. That's all I can say, and I hope you reconsider it. I think that when we bought our building, for everyone to think we would know that, I'm not sure how you think we would have known we couldn't get one when I could have a drink 2 blocks up the street from our building. So that to me is just a ridiculous statement that comes up, that you should have known better. Well, we didn't, okay? And at the end of the day, I don't really understand why other people have better opportunities than we do. And I just think the entire central business district, including the theater, needs to have the right that everyone on River Street and the square does. And I hope you'll take this really seriously. I think we've waited long enough, and I think we have been proven, recognized as a business, that we have contributed to this town in every way we can. We love this town. We have incredible guests, customers that come in, and I'm sorry the church feels that way, but that's a church issue, and I'm not asking the church to believe in anything. I just feel like you need to look beyond that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next. Yes, sir.
Alan Trevel. I'd like to know when the Catholic Church provided the allowance to have the bar directly touching their property. How long ago was that voted on?
We're talking about 2 different issues to clarify.
What's the distance?
No, it's not the distance from churches, it's the distance from schools. The state.
So why then is the church even bringing up then if it's the distance between schools?
The church has a daycare which is classified
Does the
as a
Catholic
school.
Church have the daycare?
No. And additionally, you have the elementary and primary school here, which are in too close a proximity to the LJ Coffee House.
And the distance from the school is how much?
I don't know
I've
the
not
exact
measured it
distance, but
recently, but we have measured it. And when you measure from a school, you measure to the nearest corner of the property line. So it's probably 100, 150 feet. If you look from the door, if that far, it's not.
So 150 feet is the
But it's
distance
too
you're
close.
talking about?
It's been measured.
it has to be more than 100 yards away, which would be 300.
And you're talking about the nearest property line. So when you're talking about the nearest property line and the church is classified as a school, their parking lot, and I'm just saying this so you understand, their parking lot touches the LJ Coffee House property. They join. So there's almost 0 distance between them.
So if the Catholic Church had a daycare, they would not be able to have a liquor license at the tavern or at the new restaurant.
Their grandfather then, I believe.
They touch both properties.
But their licenses have already been approved. So they're
Okay.
already grandfathered in
So that
based on
means
the
we
prior.
could approve it if we wanted to approve referencing they were already approved. Is that 20 years ago it was approved?
And I don't remember the exact date.
So do you know the distance between Bunk's Pizza and the end of the school, which is about 150 yards diagonally from that spot?
I don't know it off the top of my head, but it is far enough away. It's measured by the most direct route of travel using city streets and sidewalks, not as the crow flies.
So it
But if you'll
changes.
come by tomorrow,
Okay.
I mean, I'll provide, I'd be glad to provide it to you. It's just, I didn't come in with that.
Then I'll just finish with, I moved here 15 years ago. For the first 7 years, I had to drive to DeLonigan or to Blue Ridge to be able to see live music or to have any entertainment beyond going to a barbecue place or walking around town at 7 o'clock with all the lights out. I don't think we're asking to drag LHA into the 21st century, but I'd like to see us at least in the latter half of the 20th century on our decisions to how to provide jobs for kids getting out of high school, how to have a flourishing community downtown, as opposed to when I was here the first time. I mentioned all the vacant buildings around here, and somebody said, there's no vacant buildings. You still go by, there's still broken glass, there's still buildings ready to fall down within a couple hundred yards of you. And that's because there isn't a reason to come downtown after 7 o'clock because the place is closed. And if you want to provide jobs for kids, if you want to have a town that is going to prosper, you have to think a little bit beyond the parochial issues that have kept this town the way it is. A lot of people like it that way, I understand, but a lot of people don't like it. I received 4 texts from members of the Baptist Church asking me to come and say something because they didn't want to show up and have anyone recognize them. So it is more than, and how many people vote in town or how many people come in town. Not everybody that goes to the church votes downtown, and not everybody that is opposed to it is from out of town. It's just, it makes no sense to somebody that the town is not going to flourish, not have jobs for kids. When they get out of high school, they have to move away and come back later when they retire. It just seems imprudent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, may I point out something here? Jody Williams. I have kids that go to the school system. I actually attended the daycare for First Baptist when I was a little girl, and it's a great church. I feel like you need to draw the line somewhere. I don't think alcohol or selling of alcohol is going to bring in jobs or make us grow exponentially at all. I think a lot of that's just the good business leaders that we have in this county. And we've got some great people here. I feel like as council members, you should consider the idea of drawing your line and sticking to it. Because it is always possible for these things to work out on their own. I mean, perhaps, they have a beautiful place over there, the coffee house. Perhaps it's possible with all the people in the church, the real estate agents, contractors, that they can find you a location outside the barrier that you could move to and you would be much happier. I realize that that's not appealing.
That's such a great idea.
But I'm just thinking, wouldn't it be great if both people could be happy, the schools and you guys? I just don't want the element of danger at all near my schools and my children. That makes me very uncomfortable. And if one child ever is affected by this, that's one too many. And that's just
I'm Mike Lancaster. You guys heard me a little bit earlier. To me, it's a basic question of fairness and equity. I really don't see how you can have establishments that are within the existing boundaries that can sell alcohol and distilled spirits and deny the coffee shop the same opportunity. I mean, it's just, it's literally, not totally, but it's almost like government picking winners and losers. You can do this within these constraints, but you can't do it over here. And it just seems like there's not a equal consideration of that. I understand that those liquor licenses were probably already granted prior to the current law coming into effect, but notwithstanding that, I mean, the distance is the distance, and if they're, whatever Alan said, like 31 yards, or if they're within that buffer zone and allowed to sell beer and wine or distilled spirits, it just, to me, it just doesn't seem fair to deny that to other businesses that are requesting the same consideration.
Thank you, Mike. Yes, sir.
Mike Jones, LJ citizen here, and I want to reiterate what he said on the basis of fairness, but I think, I've been to the Baptist church there, I believe that the concerns are kind of overblown here. The reality is, the whole downtown area is 4 blocks, and it's a matter of walking 30 more seconds to get to a place that serves alcohol rather than just walk across the street to the LJ Coffee House. And that's a venue that is different from any of the others around here. It's far more low-key, far more conducive to the lifestyle in LJ. And I would love to go there and have a glass of wine in the evening. And it's unreasonable to ask them to move. And just, if you grant it, I see what's going on. They're trying to draw that line somewhere, but the Rubicon's already been crossed. They've already started granting variances, and what you do for one, you've got to equitably do for any business that that's for. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Mariah Hope, and I moved to this county and this city a year ago. I'm a local artist now, and I don't like to go to bars. I don't like to go to the establishments downtown with the loud music and that bar feel, but I would like to go to a friendly, low-key place and have a glass of wine with a friend or other people in the community or a customer even. And the LJ Coffee House is exactly that kind of atmosphere, vibe, that feels safe and low-key. And I agree. I thought, surely I'm hearing these things incorrectly. It does seem as though you've made exceptions for some businesses within that distance, and yet excluded the LJ Coffee House. It does seem like an unfair or somehow biased exception. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes,
Hi,
ma'am.
I'm Cooper Holland. I think it's interesting because the church has the parking lot. And if you don't think that people who are drinking in the other establishments are parking there after they drink and coming, unless you want to have an armed guard and a breathalyzer, there are people that come downtown and go to the hitching post and go to the other bars, right, whatever the bars are.
Hitching post is not-
I happen to like your pizza, that's what it came to mind. I'm talking about the bars in downtown. And where do you think they're parking? They're parking in the church's parking lot. So unless you want to put an armed guard there with a breathalyzer, and that is ridiculous, it doesn't make sense, it's a small area. You've made exceptions, and you can make exceptions. So when we talk about distances, and that's a moot point. The point is you have the ability to change that. And I think you can step up and do that. Most of the people who are here are supportive of this. And I'd really like you to open your hearts and open your minds and think about, at the church, how many of your parishioners go to the bars downtown, park in your parking lot, and walk back to your parking lot and leave? Probably a lot of them.
We didn't mention our parking. We're concerned about our school with our children.
Well, but the issue is that parking lot. there's really if you took it, not from the property line, but from where the school is.
What time does the daycare close?
Let's
We have
stop,
children's
stop,
events.
stop. You're speaking to the city council. We're not going to get into an argument amongst the crowd. You came to speak to the council, it's the council's decision, so I will enforce that rule. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Diane Wickham. I've been living full-time in LJ since 2015, and before that, I used to come down here summers and over Christmas for 10 years previous to that, and I did not see a vibrant downtown. I did not see people availing themselves of this wonderful city because sidewalks basically rolled up. There was nothing to do. After the antique stores closed. I like it now. There's things to do. I want to come into downtown, and it's very small. It's only a couple of blocks. It appears to me that the distance is something that had to be put in an ordinance, because if you're going to have an ordinance, you have to have numbers in it. But look at what the space is. It's a parking lot. And look at what the other business is. It's a daycare. They're not in competition with each other, either space-wise or time-wise. Someone should be able to come to LJ and enjoy an evening out. I particularly enjoy the performing arts at the theater. I especially enjoy, I would like to be able to purchase a drink at intermission, at a concert, or intermission at a play, and have the money that I'm spending support the institution that I'm attending. I love the coffee house. As Mr. Jones said, it's a very pleasant place to be. It doesn't have the flavor of a bar and raucous music, neither does the Performing Arts Center. And we're only talking a couple blocks here, and to choose some spaces as okay and other spaces as not okay, that's silly. I would like to have us continue to have a vibrant downtown, and I don't think that it's in competition with the daycare center because time and space are not being shared.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm Shirley Finley, and I'm speaking as a member of the church, but I'm also speaking as a retired teacher. Spent 26 years across the country teaching school, and I know that in the evenings, I'm not sure that there's been anybody here to speak up for the school, but in the many years that I've been there, and knowing now my daughter teaches there, there are many evening activities that go on there with kids. You know, there are events that the school plans, and so I have concerns, you know, for the public school. I love the coffee house. Their turkey knob is my favorite sandwich of everywhere I go. But and I like the atmosphere that is there now. But should that change, you know, I don't know that I'm going to feel the same way about it. But again, I feel like it sounds like we're saying that there's been some sort of fate or at some point where lines were changed, and I don't know all the history. But it seems like if there's already been this in place, and there are those boundaries, that, you know, we have every right to keep those boundaries. If people want to have other types of businesses and things, then, you know, there's plenty of places to serve. But I just feel like we still need to look out for our children. And at Wednesday nights, Wednesday evenings at the church, you know, there are children coming and going at all times. We're parking in this back parking lot, and I'm teaching, working with children then. So I just feel like that's something that we really need to think very strongly about before we keep pushing the boundary back and pushing the boundary back. We need to think about seriously what we're doing here. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is Art Williams, and I wasn't going to speak because I usually don't do a very good job of it. But first of all, I'd like to know who's parking in our lot and walking to the hitching post. That's a man I would admire because it's quite a distance from our way. And I've been coming here for years now. And I'll admit, primarily because of this issue. I do not live in the city, I'll say that right up front. I have been a part of this county for over 25 years, and I truly love it. I was wishing Norman Rockwell was here so he could paint this meeting, and I'm wondering how he would paint it. So many things have changed in my lifetime that I hardly recognize, not only our country, but our county. It's not the same county that it was when I came here. And that's a matter of personal preference, I guess, as to whether you like it better or you don't like it as much. But the one thing that troubles me over the years is how this division continues to grow. And it always seems that First Baptist is the focal point. And that troubles me because I am a member of First Baptist. I had a history in my younger life of alcoholism, but I've put that out, and that has no bearing on this hearing or on my talking to you tonight. It seems the strongest argument for changing the ordinance is so that one business is not shown preference over another. And I could be wrong, but I believe if I was coming to LJ with the intent of seeking a liquor license, I would find out first what the ordinance was. And if that was the case at the time that I bought here, I would assume that there's a reason for it. And so I fail to see the reason that we could be called discriminating against a business when the law has been there for quite a while. The parking lot, as you said, touches the property. We have tried over the years to be good citizens. We do not police our parking lot and say that you can't come here unless you're coming to a church function. You know as well as we know, parking is at a premium downtown. And if at one point the conflict got so heated that even members in our own church were advising to close our parking lots because we were pitted as bad guys that were discriminating against local businesses. I and many others more calmly argued against that because it's not the Christian way and it's not the right thing to do as a citizen. I would fight it even if you change the ordinance because that is not our goal or our purpose. I just simply restate that we want to be good citizens. We want to be a part of this community. Another argument that's used a lot is that First Baptist doesn't pay taxes. But I can assure you we have over 1,000 members, and many of those do pay taxes. To my knowledge, no church in Gilbert County pays taxes. My point is that this is a very divisive issue, and those that are in favor of it will argue their points, and those of us who are against it for whatever reason will try to make our points. But the bottom line comes back to you. What was the purpose originally for the state in setting these limits, and especially signifying two different entities, schools and churches? And I just ask you to keep that in mind so that you do not negate the reason for that ordinance being adopted. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Tom Jolly, thanks again for letting us speak tonight. I'm going to change gears on this. I'm going to go towards revenue. I look at any business downtown as bringing in revenue for the city. When they're denied that to make more money, they're denying improvements to downtown. And I do feel that if one business has been given preference over another one, we're taking away from that. Now, I don't want to go into, church not paying taxes, any of that. The businesses that are paying taxes should be able to sell if it's legal, sell it. And if you've already allowed certain businesses to sell alcohol, I think this should be the same for the coffee house. So I support that. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
My name's Rebecca, and my husband and I love coming to downtown LJ on Friday nights, Saturday nights, and we do often find ourselves searching for parking. So I may have parked somewhere and walked to the tavern a night or two. But I do think that a change should be considered just to help the whole town flourish, not just half of it.
Yes, sir.
Councilwoman, thank you for allowing us to speak tonight. My wife and I moved here in 2016, and we aren't city residents, but we do live in the county. We chose LJ because it had a little something going for it. We both worked in Jasper and could have moved to Jasper, but it was kind of dead, right? And Blue Ridge, it was maybe a little bit too commercial. We love LJ, small town feel, small business owners, and we love the coffee house and all the other establishments in town. We do support the coffee house and their initiative to serve alcohol, and we would appreciate you giving them the opportunity to grow their business, just like the county's given the opportunity for us to grow ours.
Yes.
Jennifer Mills, and I just would like to express my appreciation for y'all having this meeting so we can say what we want, because I know everybody doesn't always agree. But I do believe that Rick and Joanne have done a lot for the downtown area. When I moved here 19 years ago, it was struggling, and I watched it struggle and struggle and struggle. And I watched the Martin House grow, I watched them come into downtown, and watched the downtown start turning around. And I think we're having great success. I see people out enjoying our town and enjoying our commerce. And I think if people would like to have a glass of wine at their place, they're not the type of establishment to have, wild parties. I would trust if my child was in the, nursery at the church, that probably I would assume they wouldn't be serving alcohol during the school hours. And I feel sure that y'all could totally work something out, but I would like to express my support for you.
Thank you. Rick?
Yeah. It seems like everyone's saying it's the LJ Coffee House that wants this. Obviously, we would like to have them change the law, but it's also for the whole central business district. It's the theater. It's for businesses that may want to move here in the future. But there's this arbitrary line that's there, and you can't go between this area and this area. You can go this way, you can go that way. Had we moved to town and we didn't know about that. We built a business. We said we'd like to offer more things to the community. So we came here. We didn't want to serve alcohol to begin with. That wasn't even our plan. We wanted to have a coffee shop. And here we are today. The theater, I know, is struggling. I know in Blue Ridge and Jasper, the theater depends upon income coming in from alcohol sales, and that helps the theater. The theater is struggling here. I don't know if any of you are involved with Gilmore Arts. I was on the board for a while there, and they struggle there, trying to, they've had some benefactors and things like that. So it's not just about our business, the coffee house, it's also about the whole town. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Rick. Anyone else?
Yes. I was pastor of First Baptist Church when they bought the parking lot. Somebody brought up the taxes. I just read an article this week that I turned over to the Chamber of Commerce. The religious life in America is the 17th largest economy in the country. Now, we looked at Gilmer County. If you add up all the salaries of the staff and the janitors and the preachers of Gilmer County, it's over $3 million that the churches in Gilbert County put into the economy of this county. I would like the parking lot to remain safe for our children, but I would also like people to understand what the church provides outside of worship every Sunday. It's an economy that is very important to the whole county that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
My name's Cruz. I live here in the county, in the city as well. Seems like everything's more of an issue of safety. I don't see any safety other than there's pretty much 4 roads that come into this county, the square. So if anything's concerned of the safety of it, you might as well just cut off River Street, other road going outside town, Old 5, and have them go this way out of town versus going right downtown on 52 coming in, main highway. If you're gonna be drinking and driving, there's gonna be taxis, get taxis, okay. But the main concern is what's the difference between being at an establishment on River Street, somewhere there, driving down that street, or being here, get up a coffee shop or another establishment that's gonna be serving alcohol and going right by their establishment. Just wanted to point that out. The main issue seems like safety. It's no different between Old 5 establishment serving alcohol there, River Street 52 coming in, or Old 5 coming this way, or going right in front of the Playhouse. So they're just roads coming in and out, so I don't see the difference between one road having alcohol and one road not having alcohol or serving alcohol. Just want to point that out.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I'm Julie Brown. Thank you for taking all our comments and remarks. I do live here in LJ just over 2 years. And I agree with you. I'm hearing both sides. I'm hearing about safety, and I'm sure there's protocol at the church, the schools, for whatever is done to keep an eye on them, cameras, and when they go out and in. And I don't think there's much difference having somewhere selling alcohol within 200 yards versus 400 yards to the church or school. We're just talking about changing or creating an ordinance to change some guidelines. And I think we have precautions anywhere if somebody's driving or walking, and I think that should be some consideration. All schools and churches take precautions for safety, and so do restaurants. So I think that's a consideration, and I thank you for that.
My name's Rita Cook, and I live in Gilmer County in Cherry Log, and I try to support Gilmer County as much as I can, because I'm in the middle. I could go to Blue Ridge, or I could come this way, and so I go to the Ingalls instead of going to the Ingalls and Blue Ridge, because I want to support Gilmer County. I think that Blue Ridge, I don't think Blue Ridge needs any help. And I really I love the way downtown LJ has grown organically, and it doesn't look like Helen, Georgia, or Gatlinburg. It's not over commercialized. But I just see this issue as an issue of fairness, and I would really like the council to consider looking at that. And to me, I think if you let the other establishments have the right to sell alcohol, then the coffee shop and other businesses that want to open up around there should be able to do the same. So, just have a glass of wine at the LJ Coffee House. They've created a really great sense of community, in my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name's Hal Wright. I live and vote in LJ. And I've been in the commercial real estate business for 40 years. And my only comment is to the city council is, you have a problem. That street is dying. I don't think, God bless them, Joanne and them will make it. They just can't make it down there because it's dying. It's going to get worse. bicycle shop is leading. So we got to look at our town and figure out what we can do to improve that business. And same goes for Chatsworth Highway. It's just that part of town. Yeah. What can we do as a group to improve upon this?
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, I appreciate all of your cooperation and thank you for your comments. And as I said before, I read the question, but I will read it again. And this is a question of whether to prepare an ordinance. It's whether basically to direct the city attorney to prepare an ordinance to make a change. So I'll read that question again. It's review and action on shall an ordinance be prepared for the purpose of expanding the area within the central business district exempted from distance requirements for church structures, school structures, and school grounds for on-premise consumption licenses for beer, wine, and distilled spirits. Do I hear a motion?
I would like to make a motion. I was here when the city of LJ was completely dry. I was here when we had the first pouring alcohol ordinance, and we lost by 9 votes. I was here for the second when it passed. And I was here last Saturday night, walking around, enjoying downtown LJ. As a member of the city council, I feel that we are charged, and it is our responsibility to facilitate the success of our businesses downtown. This is not about the coffee house. This is about all of Main Street. So I would like to make a motion that we direct our city attorney to prepare an ordinance for the purpose of expanding the area within the central business district exempted from the distance requirements from churches, schools, and for the on-premise consumption